Hello and welcome to Wide Angle. Africa is in the news for a variety of reasons. South Africa has just voted. African National Congress is now about to give President Zuma a second term. Now that is the good news. But the rest of Africa, the news is bleak, dark, and dismal. For instance, Nigeria has been gripped in a kind of violence which is almost indescribable. A group called Boko Haram, which we shall explain as we proceed, and the state, the people, students, schoolgirls, they are all at odds one with the other. And the origins, there is a sectarian violence on a scale unknown in that part of the world. Now it has reached a point, a crisis point, where foreign intervention has been sought by the government, a government whose tenability is still being questioned by many people inside Nigeria. It's a complicated picture. And to unravel all of this, we have a very distinguished panel of experts. On my immediate right, we have Ambassador H Viswanathan, who was ambassador to Nigeria, and John Cherian, who in fact has spent 4 years in Nigeria, plus of course he keeps the steadiest gaze on international affairs, at least in my knowledge, in the city of Delhi. When were you in Nigeria? So we can start the narrative from there.
I was privileged to be India's High Commissioner in Nigeria from 2005 to 2008. And when I arrived, the president was Olusegun Obasanjo, and then in 2007, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua took over. If you want to talk about the sectarian strife, it is not new to Nigeria. But the kind of violence you are seeing now is of a totally different scale. But ever since independence, Nigeria had this contradiction. All African countries have ethnic issues. What is very peculiar to Nigeria is the religious divide reinforces the ethnic divide rather than crisscrossing as in other countries.
Yes.
There are three main groups, ethnic and linguistic groups. On the southwest are the Arubas, on the southeast are the Igbos, and on the north they are the Hausa Fulanis. And it so happens that in the north most of them are Muslims, and in the south they are Christians. So the religious divide reinforces.
Trust the imperial powers to have designed it so nicely. In fact, we forget that the Berlin Conference, which divided Africa, when they took a foot rule and they just straight lined, and that is how Africa was carved up. There are groups on this side with relatives on the other. So it's a completely divided and very irrational continent, come to think of it. John, were you there when these things were happening, or?
No, I was there from 80 to 84. That was a time when
your infancy was there.
Yeah, the oil boom was sort of evaporating, and the Nigerian economy was going down the tube. That was the time I was there, and that was the time when the first civilian government, not the first, there were coups before too. Shehu Shagari was a civilian president. He was overthrown in a military coup.
Right.
And then after that, Nigeria was under military dictatorship till the 80s.
Let us take the narrative from the time that the British leave in 1949. 49 is the year of their independence. And
1960.
1960.
Yeah.
1960.
Yeah.
And what happened in 1949?
49, the first African country to be independent was Ghana, 1956. And that's where Nkrumah said, seek ye first the political kingdom. Forget about the economy.
Those were the days of India, because India as leader of the African bloc, the non-aligned and African bloc, Nehru very much there.
Afro-Asian Conference.
Afro-Asian
So
Conference.
Nigeria since independence has been, it has been stable only for a couple of years. You remember there was the Biafran War. It all started with a military coup against the civilian leadership, which was
Biafra? Biafra was the. Let us bring another. Let us bring the other, because it's a complicated picture. Let's go step by step. The other complicating element, wherever there is oil, there is deep consternation and trouble. And therefore, there is oil in Nigeria. And it so happens that the oil, wherever the maker up there...
No, this history is very important, because the leadership was overthrown by a military general who was a Christian. And the Christians, was an Igbo, and the Christians thought that Nigeria, independent Nigeria, was under the control of the Hausa Fulani ethnic group from the north. So, and then there was a counter coup, and then the Biafra civil war started, 4-year war, you remember?
Yes.
More than 1 million lives were lost, and the country was devastated.
Biafra, the region of Biafra is what?
The region of Biafra is the southeast. That is
that the oil area?
That is the oil area, and that is where the Igbos live.
Yes.
They are mostly Christians, and Igbo is the language. And traditionally, Igbos have been more well educated.
But I thought even in the southeast, where the oil is, it is largely the population around the oil wells is Muslim. Hausas from the...
No, not really. There are Muslims. There have been even intermarriages over a period of time. But it is dominated by Igbos, and even they are not happy now because...
Again, sorry. So a population of 180 million people, which is what constitutes Nigeria, 50% more or less are Muslims, and about that much Christians.
You are right.
And Christians are divided between Protestants and Catholics. Any tussle there? Any conflict between the churches?
Not really, but they are not only Protestants and Catholics. There are all kinds of denominations. You can see churches of Pentecostalists and
but no conflict
Methodists.
There. No. The basic fault line is Muslims and the Christians. And this has been aggravated over the years. What role does oil play in all of this?
See, oil...
See, oil is produced mainly in the Niger Delta, which is populated by the ethnic group to which President Goodluck Jonathan belongs to. And they have felt discriminated for a long time, because they have not seen any of the oil wealth being translated into tangible benefits for them. So, and they feel that much of the oil wealth has been either going to the north or to other parts of the country or into Swiss bank accounts. And Nigeria, as you know, has a reputation, I don't know whether it's deserved or not, of being one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And recently the central bank governor also made the allegation that about $20 billion are missing from the petroleum fund. So, oil has been a very divisive issue, and basically all the wars are being fought in Nigeria.
Is that the reason why Goodluck Jonathan will not give up his presidentship for the second term? The issue apparently is that the North and the South are alternate on the presidentship of the country. He has been president, and then in fact the Muslim was the president, but he barely been there for half the term when Jonathan came in, and they wanted Jonathan not to seek a second term. Isn't that very much an issue, Ambassador?
Yes, it is very much an issue, and in fact it was very much an issue in 2011. That was a strange coincidence of circumstances. Musa Yar'Adua was president only for 2 years. He was unwell and he passed away. And Jonathan took over for 2 years. So when the 2011 elections came, Jonathan's argument was that I have not completed a full term. So my term is still there. So he fought the election and won in 2011. On a larger scale, there was kind of a traditional understanding in Nigeria that the commercial economy was controlled by the Igbos. The corporate economy was controlled by the Yorubas. And the political and military power was with the House of Fulani in the north. This balance was going on more or less all right for a long time. But in the last 15 years, that has been upset because Obasanjo, who was a Yoruba, had 2 terms, which mean 8 years. And Jonathan, who is a Igbo, also from the south, he has already 4 plus 2, 6 years. So that balance is gone. And the northerners feel that they have been shortchanged.
Is that why the Boko Haram is somehow this, what inciting and giving strength to a movement like Boko Haram, John?
You see, there has been rise in religious fundamentals, both among the Christians as well as the Muslims. Now, Boko Haram is an illustration of the rise of in Muslim fundamentalism.
Why don't you explain what Boko Haram means?
It is not a challenge to.
What does Boko Haram mean? That would be useful.
Western education is forbidden.
Now, Western education
they don't want
forbidden.
English medium schools. They don't want Western style education in Nigeria. They don't want girls to go to school in Nigeria. And that's one reason why this kidnapping of the girls happened.
So this Boko Haram movement is primarily anti-Westernization.
Yes.
Right.
But it is not, for the average Nigerian, it is not seen as a threat because this is confined to Borno state and surrounding areas, which are comparatively sparsely populated. So day-to-day life in most of the big urban centers is not affected. Of course, there have been serious bomb attacks in the capital Abuja in recent months.
Yes.
Also, for the first time in Nigeria, there was a suicide bombing. I think 4 years ago in the UN headquarters. Yes. But then daily life is not that way affected. So many, the most of the public life, people in the south are not really affected by Boko Haram activities.
So therefore, we, like the rest of the world, Nigerians, like all of us, are getting blasé. Violence takes place somewhere else. People die, whether they die in a catastrophe. Like, for instance, I was absolutely appalled that thousands of people and their lives were on the line in Afghanistan in the latest problem. And there was very little involvement. People were not, we are becoming blasé, which is neither here nor there.